week, and that means we are back. This is the We Are One, You Are Two PlayStation podcast. I am your host, as always, Rob Fanzo. Joining me to my right, but 800 miles away, is Matt Rhodes.
Heyo.
This is episode 61, Matt, of our podcast.
Ooh.
So we're trucking along. We're trucking along here, moving. And I do want to remind people that if you like what you hear, you can listen to us on Google Play, Stitcher, Patreon, Podbean, YouTube, everywhere that you can find podcasts practically. If there's somewhere you'd listen to podcasts that we aren't and you found us by accident, let us know and we'll make sure we're there as well. We got a great show lined up for listeners this week. We're going to talk a lot of PlayStation news. We're going to talk a little bit about perhaps the end of GameStop. At least in my opinion anyway. And then we're going to cover some of the games coming out this week too. And then we'll see what we have time for after that. Probably not much, but we'll see what we can do. I also am going to let everyone know that probably by the summertime, don't be surprised if you see some shakeups with our podcast, but I'll be detailing those later on down the road. So something to look forward to.
Ooh, shakeups! Yeah. I don't even know about these shakeups.
No, I've been doing a lot of contemplation this week, and so not bad things, not that we're disappearing, but maybe mutating is a nice video game term.
Mutating,
you know, our second phase, if you will.
Leveling up, if you will.
I like that. Leveling up, yes.
Yeah.
And so we'll be leveling up this summer, hopefully. You know. Become more of a squad-based shooter. No, I'm kidding. No, we'll be leveling up. We'll be collecting those souls, or what did you call them in Bloodborne?
As long as we can ping
bucks?
Things.
What did you call them in Bloodborne? Blood bucks?
Blood bucks. Yeah, that's what I call them, blood bucks.
Yeah. We'll be getting our blood bucks together to level up. All right. First and foremost, as we always do, I guess we should probably go ahead and talk about what we've been playing this week.
Oh,
I always like talking about that.
What have we been playing? Yeah. Let's see. What have I been playing this week? Well, what was the last time we talked? I feel like it's been a while since we talked. Yeah,
you and I haven't talked much this week, so.
Yeah. I mean, I played a Mortal Kombat beta.
I did too.
That was fun. Oh.
Did you like it?
I did. I mean, I can't wait. I'm excited. I ended up buying the like $100 edition. I mean, I used my Discover card points, so I didn't have to pay for it technically. But yeah, no, I'm really excited about it. I feel like they did a really good job with it, and yeah, no, it's going to be really good. I'm nervous about online matchmaking personally, but that's just me and how I view things with like one-on-one stuff. Like I'm not good at that stuff. I'm not good necessarily at memorizing like button combinations or like combos to like, you know, spam your opponent or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not good at that either. I used to be.
Yeah,
I used to be an arcade champion with that stuff.
Right, but I'm terrible at that. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes. I got better. I kind of, because I played for a decent chunk of time, and I was like, oh, I can connect this together, and I can connect this together, and I was getting some pretty decent combos out of it. So maybe I will, you know, get a little bit better with it, because I played with mainly Cabal.
Oh, okay.
Like that whole time, but I don't know, the amount of customization that seems to be available or is going to be available in the final product is going to be insane.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, so that's one of the other things I'm looking forward to. And like everyone has two fatalities obviously, but then there's like each person has like a couple brutalities too, and then there's like regular brutalities that everyone can do. So like, you know, there was numerous times where I was just trying to like uppercut a guy, but it was like they didn't have enough. You know, they had like, it was like the last round, and there was like their last little bit of health. So like I uppercutted their spine out of their body. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I noticed I did a couple brutalities, and then I did it, and afterwards I went into the menu and I was like, what buttons did I press? Did I accidentally press like down, back, left, and square?
Yeah, exactly.
Combined, or what did I do?
Yeah, they're pretty easy. So and they're just like variations on special moves sometimes, which is kind of cool. So yeah, no, I think they did a good job with it. So I'm excited, and because of the one-on-one matchmaking, I played mainly the little tower, so I was just fighting the computer, but no, it was good. I really enjoyed that, and then of course Rocket League, Fortnite. Not Rocket League, not so much because I'm still waiting on what's going on with Rocket Pass, if when they're going to announce it or when it's going to come out. But I did play on April Fool's Day because they always have good April Fool's stuff.
Oh, what did they have this year? I missed it.
It was just like when you went into I forget what it was. When you went into casual play, all the modes, like the either standard or duo or duos or single or solo standard, they had these little cartoons and descriptions of the mode, but in a weird cartoony. And I think it's a cartoon that's been used before with them, maybe on the Reddit or something like that. So I think it was kind of funny to see, it was kind of a community influenced April Fool's joke.
Okay.
Which was kind of cool. Because I've seen that kind of art style before on their Reddit. So I think that maybe there was a meme with that art style or whatever. So they just oh, okay, we'll do this. So I think my favorite though was maybe 2 years ago now, when they when each of the rankings were turned into vegetables.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I really enjoyed that too, actually.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite one. But
good stuff.
But yeah.
Very cool. So that's everything?
What have you been playing, Rob? Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think there was anything else. I'm trying to think if there was. Yeah.
Cool.
I will be playing Soul Calibur this evening. It's in the mail, so I'll receive that tonight, and I'll probably start playing that.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting, I should say. So what else have I been playing?
What have you been playing?
I have been playing, obviously, a lot of... so here's the thing. I'm going to say it, and no one's corrected me yet, and yet I'm confused. Everybody else I listen to on podcasts and gaming sites calls it Sekiro. But when I listened very carefully, and I'm pretty sure I have to rewind it, but when I listened very carefully to a cutscene, he said Sekiro. And so I'm going with the Japanese pronunciation, Sekiro, because I think that's correct rather than Sekiro.
Because you're fancy.
Because I'm fancy and because I care about pronunciation. Now, I might be wrong, and I might be hearing that wrong. I don't know. But anyway, I've been playing a lot of Shadows Die Twice. And by a lot, I mean a lot of the boss... Genichiro Ashina, and if anybody has that game, you know exactly who I'm talking about. I know there's that. I'm a huge. I mean, I love those kinds of games. I'm usually pretty quick at picking up on patterns. I usually die less than a dozen times. And on Lady Butterfly, which has given a lot of people a lot of trouble, maybe 20, 30 deaths for sometimes I've read. I cleared her on my first time. And so I was like, okay, I've got this. Then I got to Genichiro, and I made up for all 30 of those with him. And so I got past him. I'm headed to, and this isn't necessarily spoilers. I'm headed to, I think it's called the Sunken, or the Senpu. I'm headed to the Senpou Temple. Senpou. I think it's Senpou Temple.
Okay.
Which is really cool. I've seen some videos of people getting a fan type thing. And running around so that all the monks that you're supposed to fight, there's 15 of them in that area, are gathered in one spot, and then pressing this fan thing that sends out this dust, and just all of them disappearing, and gold appearing in their place. And so I've seen some videos of that, and I'm really kind of excited to try that out. So I've been playing a lot of that.
I wonder, do you think that's a glitch, or do you think that's something they'll patch, or do you think that's a legit way to do that? No,
it's a legit way from what I can tell, because that fan is supposed to really crush it. Whatever it is, it's supposed to do something to an enemy, but it only has a limited range. Well, what they smartly did was they tried to aggro every enemy in the area, and then they jumped up onto a tree in the area so that all the enemies were below them, and then they executed that. And so they just saved themselves. It's a great way to farm, I think. So I doubt they'll patch that out.
Yeah. That's pretty
cool. It was really cool to see. So I'm excited to try that out, mess around with that. And then...
Yeah, plus I wouldn't see anything wrong with that. Because, if you're taking the time to aggro those guys, it's still semi-time consuming to run around to get all those guys,
exactly. Right? And so I've abandoned most other games. I played a little bit of Omen Sight. I played a little bit of Division. You and I actually played a lot of Division together at the beginning of the week. And then I started on my Vita this game called Burly Men at Sea. It was free PlayStation Plus game.
Yes!
Have you played it yet?
I bought it a while ago, but I don't think I ever actually played it.
So it's very narrative driven. And it reminds me a lot of, maybe it's because I'm reading the Odyssey with my students. It reminds me a lot of the Odyssey. Because it's literally 3 burly bearded guys that are on a ship and go through these crazy adventures at sea. I love it. I think it's hilarious. It's well written. And it's just narrative based. So there's not really any action involved. It's a lot of point and click type stuff.
Okay.
But I think you would enjoy it. It's a short game. I played it for about 20 minutes. I think it's only like a 2 to 3 hour game. So it was definitely worth it if you had PS Plus and you downloaded it a few months ago when that was up as an opportunity. So I really enjoyed that. And I think that's really been it. Cool. Sekiro's been devouring my time of what I've had. So,
yeah.
All right.
Sweet.
Well, let's move on into the news. So, first and foremost, and I have quite a few news stories on here. So we're going to try and...
Well, before you get into yours, I'm gonna jump the gun.
It's a Fortnite news story, isn't it?
You may have put it in there. I don't know. But because we're talking about Sekiro, and it's kind of in the same vein, did you notice the PlayStation Plus games for
yes, the
April?
Surge. I do have that
Surge,
in there this week. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so we can talk about that a little bit because I'm actually really excited. That's a game that I've added to my cart 15 times and then taken out when it was on sale. Even when it was like $10, I was like, I can wait till later. I don't have time for this. So I'm really excited about that. But we'll talk about that in a bit.
Okay.
Let's move through the news proper. So first, that's all right. First and foremost, Sony has announced it will shut down PlayStation VR shooter Starblood Arena's servers in July. Now this comes on the heels of Drive Club also being shut down. And so it's a story that's becoming increasingly familiar to PlayStation fans as they're kind of gutting the online title after online title. And I can only think that that's because they're making room for their servers or for room with something regarding PlayStation 5. And they just know that they're going to need more server space next gen. That's my guess. Anyway, the developer White Moon Dreams wants to do something about it. So while the title was published by Sony, meaning the firm is in charge of maintaining its servers, the studio would like to update the release and keep it independently online. And so CEO Jay Kudaparala said that, quote, "We're still waiting to hear back from the manufacturer if they'll allow us to patch it." And so Sony called me earlier to let me know that they were shutting down the servers, he explained. The call was something along the lines of, "This is always a very hard time, but it's time to shut down the servers." There wasn't a whole lot of detail past that. At the very least, we would like to have had the option to pay for the server ourselves. And so he did admit that the number of people playing the game is very small. This despite it being given away January of last year's PS Plus. And so, I don't know. Do you think, well, I mean, this is a conversation maybe with her today, but should servers always stay online for certain games even if they don't have a huge crowd?
I don't know. I mean, how much does that cost to keep those servers open based on
what is being played?
Yeah,
I agree. And so I don't have an opinion about this, I think, either way. I do think, though, that Sony should allow them, if they want to independently keep them open, to allow them to keep it open. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying to a company, "Hey, you know what, we're shutting you down, but if you want to purchase server space, or, well, maybe not server space, but if you want to find another place to migrate your servers, we will give you time to do that and then help you with that transition process."
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Number 2. This is a big one, and I'm super excited about this. I sent this to you, I think. Sony has changed its refund policy for the PlayStation Store. It updated its terms and conditions earlier this week, making subtle improvements for consumers looking to be reimbursed. This is via Push Square, I believe, or Yeah, I think it was Push Square I got this off of. As per the new small print, you'll be eligible for a refund on any purchase. I wish this had happened about 3 months ago. Assuming you requested within 14 days and haven't downloaded the game yet. I'm looking at you, Fallout 76. Because I never downloaded it. This means if you purchase a title but later change your mind, as long as you haven't started to download it yet, you'll be eligible for a refund if you request it within 2 weeks. The money will be reimbursed on your PlayStation Network wallet, which is fine with me. Like, they say this isn't a flawless process, but I'm okay with that because I'm probably going to spend it again anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Games that are considered faulty will also be eligible for a refund. Now, that, of course, I think comes down to what Sony defines as faulty. Other improvements include the ability to cancel a pre-order at any time. You can get a refund on any pre-ordered title within 14 days, assuming you don't begin the download. Subscriptions such as PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now can also be canceled after 14 days, even if you begin using them. Though the reimbursement amount will be adjusted to reflect how much you've actually used the service. And so that's kind of cool because I know PlayStation Now offers you that free trial, but then if you get further into it and you're like, you know what, this isn't for me, you can at least get a refund for that month. So they probably prorate it.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So the terminology is present on both European and North American sites, and so those seems like the two that are available. So if you live outside of those continents or whatever, you're not going to probably have that opportunity right now. So South America, for example, is out of that. Moving on, Persona 5R, Persona 5S, Atlas has both revealed both of those. Last month they released Persona 5 The Royale. This week they released... That siren is driving me nuts.
I was wondering if you noticed.
I was trying.
I was going to start to laugh. I was trying not to laugh. I was like, yep, there it is.
Persona 5S, on the other hand, we have no idea. Most people are speculating this means Persona 5 Switch. I probably think that's probably it too. We won't find out till the end of April. Another 20 days from when we're recording this. But I'm thinking it's probably Switch. Or Joker is supposed to come to Smash Brothers Ultimate as DLC this month, and so maybe it's Persona 5 Smash, right? And they're going to release that. Who knows? Moving on. Cyberpunk 2077 news. I'm excited about this. It's taking its role-playing very seriously, as a recent developer interview on a German site called GameStar reveals an interesting detail regarding mission design. The gist of it is that you'll never see a game over screen unless your character dies. This means you can fail missions and the story will simply carry on. And I am super excited about that. That reminds me, and I don't know, I think I'm wrong on this one, because I'm pretty sure in The Witcher, especially with the main missions, that you couldn't fail them, like that you had to complete them. But I don't recall. But Witcher 3 also didn't really give you much choice in how things occurred. It did on the side quests, but not a lot on the main ones, from what I can remember. It's been 4 years on that. But anyway, I'm kind of excited to see that. Personally, I would love to see somebody do an all-fail run through. Just fail every single mission and just see how screwed up things get at the end.
I mean, you know it's going to happen.
I would love that. And so we'll see what happens there. I'm kind of excited about that. Moving on. I don't know if you saw Kotaku's in-depth report this week from Jason Schreier about Anthem's development. Did you see that at all?
No.
He interviewed anonymously, or had email exchanges anonymously with several employees of BioWare who complained about or talked about working conditions, who talked about the crunch, who talked about how Anthem was a mess until about... no one actually knew what Anthem was supposed to be until part of the team made that E3 trailer, and then they finally felt like they had a clear direction back in 2015. Wow. And so BioWare, before that story was even published, issued a statement that said, "We'd like to take a moment to address an article published this morning about BioWare and Anthem's development. We chose not to comment or participate in this story because we felt there was an unfair focus on specific team members and leaders who did their absolute best to bring this totally new idea to fans. We didn't want to be part of something that was attempting to bring them down as individuals. We respect them all, and we built this game as a team. We put great emphasis on our workplace culture in our studios. The health and well-being of our team members is something we take very seriously." And then it continues to go on and say, "We accept all criticisms that will come our way for the games we make, especially from players. The creative process is often difficult. The struggles and challenges of making video games are very real." And then it says, "People in this industry put so much passion and energy into making something fun. We don't see the value in tearing down one another or one another's work. We don't believe articles that do are making our industry and craft better." Ouch. However, I do think it's important that Schreier reports on that, because Anthem has been a complete mess. And if it's going to continue to be a complete mess, I think it's really important that people understand why. And if your company's not doing something to uphold those standards, I think you should probably be kind of singled out a little bit in that regard. Not necessarily team members or individuals, I agree with that, but the company as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, a game is not an individual's fault.
Right. And so
I mean, in my mind, there's no way that like a whole game is completely someone's fault. But yeah, I mean, you still as a company have to step up and be like, yeah, well,
yeah, we crunched. We didn't do what we should. And that's not the first time we've heard about crunching and stuff like that. I don't remember if you remember that with Red Dead. There was rumors going around and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't necessarily worry about believing everything I hear, but these people reached out to him and were willing to share their story with him, so I don't see why he can't report on. I think Jason Schreier does incredible reporting, and I think that he does a really great job of getting to the bottom of stuff without coming off as accusatory or attacking. And so I don't see any single reason why he shouldn't have published that story. So we'll see what happens and what happens going forward.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. I just want to roll out. There's been a lot of Borderlands 3 news. I'm super excited about this. That trailer looks insane. I just wanted to mention that they also tweeted out that we'll get the first real gameplay of the title on the 1st of May. Maybe a live stream. Since then, news has also come out that it's officially out on September 13th. That it has online and offline co-op. That you won't have to worry about. Did you ever play Borderlands?
Maybe a little bit.
My sister.
I know. I bought 2 and never played it.
Okay, well, maybe you and I can maybe get into that a little bit at some point. We'll do a Let's Play or something. Before 3 releases. The problem I always had with 1 and 2, because I played a lot with my sister when she would pick up games and stuff. She loved Borderlands for whatever reason. The problem we always had, though, was that when you looted a weapon, this is kind of like the Division, right? When you and I loot a chest, there's something there for both of us. In Borderlands 1 and 2, when you looted something, it was gone. The other person took it. And so you always had to fight over loot drops or agree who would take what. And so Borderlands 3 will be able to actually toggle that off and on. So I'm kind of excited about that. You can actually go ahead and take care of that and not have to stress over losing the loot. Or if you want to play that way and be a little bit more competitive, you can do it that way too. All right. So just a couple more news story to wrap things up. I don't know if you saw this one. It literally just published 3 hours ago. It sounds like, and this is via Push Square, it sounds like the next Assassin's Creed, Matt, will be all about Vikings.
What?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Just the other day, players found what seemed to be a teaser I'll read this article, for the next Assassin's Creed game inside the Division 2. There's a poster that advertises an opera called Valhalla, right? Norse mythology, and a character clad in red and white robes, traditional Assassin's Creed colors. The character also appears to be holding the Apple of Eden. And so that's pretty cool, right? Then Kotaku, and so that stirs up the internet. Kotaku has weighed in on the rumor, saying they've heard from sources that yes, the next Assassin's Creed will have Vikings. This is quote, a few months before this teaser emerged, Kotaku learned from 2 independent resources familiar with the game that 2020's Assassin's Creed, codenamed Kingdom, will indeed star Vikings, writes the publication.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't finished Odyssey yet, but I would gladly play a Viking game.
Definitely, dude. Also, I guess that means we gotta play Division and go find this poster that they speak of.
we need to locate that and just check it out for ourselves. So we're gonna check out and report back next week. Is exactly what we're gonna do. And so I will locate that YouTube video and we will go hunting. I think after this is over.
Yes, I'm okay.
All right. Just a couple tiny more news articles. One, I didn't put on there also that I wanted to mention it from earlier in the week. Fury, one of my favorite games of 2016, or 2015 and 2016. It came out in 2015. Got a free update this week, 3 years after the game came out.
Wow.
Yeah. And what it adds is something that you would like, Matt. It adds the ability for you to be invincible towards all the bosses so that you can play through and enjoy the story and not worry about dying over and over and over again. So I just wanted to mention that.
God bless them.
So just a quick mention of that. Also,
not that Fury was that bad. I mean, I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I loved it. I beat it and I would go through it again if I could. They also added like speedrunner mode in the more difficult mode and a couple other things as well. Also, did you know in 2 weeks there's a game called World War Z coming out? I had no idea. That's how much they've talked about it. So anyway, they released a new trailer this week that reminds people very much of Rockstar Games YouTube videos. The way it explains and goes through the game and talks about how it's structured and objectives and it goes through all this stuff. And so we'll see if it's actually any good. I don't think it'll replace. I'd rather wait my money for. And what's funny, it's coming out in 2 weeks, right? So if you do the math, that's right around Days Gone. And so I think I'll put my money towards Days Gone if I'm going to put it in a zombie game. Last 2 things I'd like to point out before we move on to our topic today about GameStop. 1, Enter the Gungeon 2 years ago came out. They're getting their final update, A Farewell to Arms, today on PS4. That is literally today. In fact, when I fired up my PlayStation 4 after work today, it said Enter the Gungeon, now installed. So the third and final major update to the popular title is entirely free, as were other expansions. And so it adds 2 new playable characters, different abilities and perks, as well as what's called Rainbow Mode, which is where you find a rainbow chest at the start of each floor, and the catches of the items you take from these chests are the only ones you'll get during your entire run through all 5 levels, or through that level anyway. So that's kind of cool, because I mean, sometimes you can pick up like 3 or 4 weapons on a level, and you go into like the next level stocked. This one will give you maybe like a unique weapon, but it will be only for that floor or for your entire run. So, yeah, I'm kind of excited to dive into that, even though I've never beat it to begin with. Last but not least, and you told me this was false news. However, it seems like it's real now.
I did. I thought it was false. I did. Go ahead. Explain it, and I'll explain to the people why I thought it was false
Rage
news.
2 just became a day one buy for me. Let me tell you why. Because the man himself, Cockney actor Danny Dyer, in all his cheeky glory, you may know him from NBA Jam titles, is part of the voice of the upcoming open world shooter through cheat codes that unlocks loads of different things, including a running commentary track by him where he'll yell, "He's on fire," among other things.
That's awesome.
I know.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It was announced, I believe, on April Fool's. So I looked up a site that that rounded up all like the video game April Fool's jokes. Like they put Rabbids in For Honor. I already mentioned, Rocket League, but that was on that list too. Was NBA Jam voiceover in Rage 2. But apparently, after you sent me that article, I re-looked up the one that I had seen originally, and they updated their article saying that this is real. Check it out here. So, I mean, it sounds like it would be an April Fool's joke.
It
does
does.
It not?
And truthfully, when I watched the trailer where they were like, "Hey, do you love NBA Jam? Well, guess what? Now you can have this." And they're talking about all these cheat codes that they were going to have in the game. I thought, this sounds like this can't be real, because when's the last time you heard of a game openly bragging about its cheat codes and kind of actually it sounds like encouraging you to use them. Like we're just going to give these to you, go nuts. And so
yeah,
I appreciate that, because I think what they're doing here is bringing back like an old school mechanic that I thought was basically dead, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it is a really smart move on their part.
Absolutely.
I think it's gonna sell games for sure. The addition of cheat codes that like do like weird stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think it's great. I mean, Uncharted did that.
Yeah.
They were usually pretty good about that, but you would have to unlock them. It wasn't like
just there.
I think you would have to find stuff to unlock it, right?
I think you're correct.
Oh, yeah. So, so there's that, but for them to just kind of be like, all right, well, we're going to have cheat codes and you can just put them in, and
I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
I didn't watch the actual video, but does he say, is it the shoes? That was my favorite line from NBA
I can't
Jam.
remember.
Is it the shoes?
He says quite a few things.
He's on fire.
Yeah, and I think hopefully it'll be context based, right? Like you kick a guy and he'll say, "Is it the shoes?"
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, right.
I mean, that's the way the trailer sells it. It sells it like you throw a guy and he, with something and he catches on fire. He's on fire.
Right.
So
right. Exactly.
We'll check it out afterwards and see.
Yeah.
So that's gonna wrap up the news. I thought it was a pretty cool news week. Lots of good stuff. I'm most excited. If I had to pick one news story I'm most excited about, it's the refund policy from Sony for digital stuff.
Yeah.
And that's going to lead us into the talk here. So let's move into that. So, topic of conversation, as I mentioned, that what I think is a perfect lead in is Sony's refund policy. And at the same time that they're moving forward with that, they're also removing, starting, I believe it was April 1st, they removed all digital sales of games from all online retailers, as well as brick and mortar stores. So you can no longer go anywhere and purchase a digital game in a store or on Amazon. Because you said they'd already removed it a few days ago when you checked, right? Ahead of the announcement.
I think I went to do Mortal Kombat.
Oh, okay.
And it was I couldn't do it.
So this.
Now I'm sure the people that already bought that, obviously those codes are still honored.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right. You know what I mean? However, I think they got rid of them pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's no surprise. And where that ties into GameStop is that GameStop, it came out this week via a variety of sources. I have Screen Rant up right now, but it was a lot of other sources popped up as well.
I think I sent you originally on Reddit.
Yeah, and so it's all over the place. GameStop suffered record-breaking financial losses over 2018, resulting in a $673 million profit loss that also saw the company's net sales slide down a full 3% when compared to 2017's numbers. Their fiscal year saw a record net profit of $34 million, and that's not big. It still marks at least a significant downturn over 2018. And so I think what this is the writing on the wall for is that within the next year or two, because they also started closing out some stores, if I remember correctly, 4 or 5 months ago. I think this is the writing on the wall for them to say that GameStop has got to evolve very quickly or they're done. And I think they're going the way of Blockbuster very quickly.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, let's see, what did I do? I mean, I still get their emails, but most of their emails that I get from them now are all Funko Pop stuff.
Yes.
Like all those little figures.
Yes.
So I figure that's kind of like what they're going to transition into. And, you only need like 1 or 2 of those in a city, I think.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't need to be as prevalent as the as there are, as the amount of stores they have now, I guess.
And I do want to point out in 2012 they lost 269 million, and in 2007 million. But when you compare both of those to 600 and what I say before 30 or 673 million, that's a 300% increase almost in loss. So
right.
I think this is the selling of the times for them. I think that what this really dictates for me is because I've seen plenty of news articles about how digital sales have increased for new releases. As a whole, year over year, they've jumped up 70%, right? And I think that you see those distribution services through even like Epic's Game Store launch is another perfect example about that as well. Even though that's PC and that's not console related, that still impacts that kind of stuff, I think. And so I see the rise in digital sales, even on consoles. I think the rise in digital sales is what's cramping into their business. And I read this somewhere, and I will locate the source, I promise, where I had read that there was a potential idea that Sony was looking at the idea for PS5 of finding a way to create a marketplace where if you purchase a game digitally and I want to sell it to you, I can sell it to you, and something will happen where they'll take a bit of the profit, or something will happen where they'll mark it to a certain price. I can only sell you maybe at like a loss. Like, so if I bought it for 60, even if it's still 60 on the store, I could sell it for like 40 to you because they want to keep at least 20 of it for the actual purchase.
So like a digital eBay?
Yeah, but amongst friends, right? So like I don't just sell it on the thing, but I sell it to somebody. And so I read that rumor somewhere, and I'll locate that eventually. But that if that's true too, then you're looking at Sony really cutting into GameStop's business, because that's the one thing people have against digital is they like to, some people love to sell their games back and get that money back, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I did it for a while, and then I kind of just switched to digital because I don't know. A lot of the time, like say take God of War for instance. I play the crap out of it, and then I don't play it for like 6 months, and then by that time it's worthless. Well, not necessarily worthless, but not worth enough for me to just I'd rather just hold on to it or whatever.
And then I was gonna say, I think that what also contributes to that is sometimes you and I have been known to just randomly pick back a game, pick it back up, and try to finish it.
Exactly.
And so for you and I personally, now I know a lot of people beat them and sell them back. And I used to do that when I had no life. I'm kidding.
Right, and I've done that a couple times. And honestly, I remember that GameStop for a little bit there had guarantees on that stuff. Mm-hmm. Like if you returned it by a certain date, you would get like a guaranteed $25 or $30. So you could basically rent the game from GameStop for $30, beat it, and give it back to them within a month.
Yeah.
And you would get half of the money back.
I was joking, by the way. I was joking about when I had no life. I've never had a life. I still don't. I just meant like when I had way more time.
Exactly. I knew what you meant.
I didn't want to offend anybody, but like, I have a life too. How dare he say that? All 10 of them that listen to us. So the other thing that I think about, and I'm staring at it right now as I say this too, and the reason I think digital sales go up is a game like The Division, a game like Anthem, a game like Fallout 76, where they're persistent online games. I don't know that I want physical copies of those anymore, because when those servers shut down, or if I'm playing my PlayStation offline, let's say my internet goes out and I still want a game, I can't play those games. Mm-hmm. They require a persistent internet connection. Dark Souls 3 doesn't, but The Division does. So,
well, that's also kind of where the industry is headed, right? Constant updates, constant, fixing of bugs, which to me is frustrating, because to a certain extent that kind of just says, we're putting out faulty products.
It does, and that's a different story for a different time.
Right, of course.
But when we kind of talked about that, I guess, a little bit with games as a service. If you missed that podcast, go back about 3 or 4 and you'll hear that. We talked about shipping them out as a service like that. But I do think what concerns me the most about this with GameStop is that does spell, and I know I have a lot of people in my timeline on Twitter who are physical game collectors. I do start to see this maybe spell the end of physical game collections. And I think if you look at Google Stadia, they clearly believe that too.
Of course.
So I think while physical game collections are great, and there is this gratification in knowing that I can pull BioShock off my shelf and play it anytime I want, there's also this kind of reminder to me that I will probably not do that. And so that's where I think GameStop, if they go out, I mean, it won't be the end of physical games. I think it'll be a big blow to physical games. But I think that you'll see that they'll have to continue to exist maybe in some form. Actually, what I wonder more about games, we keep talking about games, but if GameStop goes out, what happens to all the consoles? Do they just move to other retailers like Walmart who sell other things? Am I only going to be able to purchase a console through that? Through Amazon? You know what I mean? Because people do buy consoles through GameStop. Hardware like that.
Well, that's one of the articles that I kind of pulled up while you're talking about the news. It says, for the fiscal year, the net loss topped $673 million compared to the net income of $34.7 million in fiscal 2017. Right. Well, in fiscal 2017 was the release of Switch.
Okay, that's very observant.
And I read like GameStop actual inside stuff on their website about their their stockholders meetings kind of stuff that they have to post publicly because they're a publicly traded company. And it was showing how consoles were up 28 point something% because of the Switch. So obviously in new console years they're gonna do well, right? Because I mean, where do you go? Honestly, where do you go for that? But GameStop. I mean, I don't think I've ever bought my stuff at anything else other than GameStop. I think maybe Kmart, but that was when I worked there, so I put one aside even though I wasn't supposed to. For when the original Wii came out.
Yeah, see, I bought my PS4 off of Amazon. I had that pre-ordered when they said, pre-orders go live at midnight. I think I was up at 12:01 pre-ordering it to make sure I got one. And so that creates a
see, that's the thing. It's so hard to do that, right?
It is.
Yeah, you have to be there in the right time in the right place. Whereas these walk-in stores, usually you get at least a bigger window of opportunity, right? So it is kind of hard to say. I mean, the PlayStation I currently have now is the Darth Vader one, and I kind of did that because it made sense to me because I was because they were doing a deal on trading in the regular PlayStation 4, so I got a bunch of money back for that, and then it basically made the new console relatively free, or close to it. I think it was maybe the cost of the game, which was included anyways, Battlefront. So I was like, well, I'm going to purchase the game anyways. Might as well get the cool Darth Vader PlayStation out of it.
Yeah.
So, stuff like that, obviously still useful for, but may not be around to do that much longer. Yeah.
And that's that. I was thinking about that when you said that. I got my VR through they had that crazy trade-in deal. I think they were trying to boost their trade-in numbers. And I remember because of that crazy trade-in stuff that I got my PSVR for, I don't know, what was it? $20.
Yeah, right. Because you you didn't cheat the system, but you worked the system with that, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's the other thing is I feel like a lot of the losses, come from that, where you find games that are you get you can purchase the game on Amazon for cheaper than they'll give you, you know, and then you just like trade it in. You're making money off of it, and you know, obviously GameStop and their shareholders are losing that.
Yeah,
money.
and I do want to point out in that article that I looked at that it did point out, according to Games Industry Biz, that hardware sales were down 1%, no big deal. New software down 5%, again, no big deal. But the pre-owned and value products dropped more than 13%, which means that less people are trading games in. And I can attribute that to two things. One, and this article points out that digital downloads are quickly overtaking physical sales. I agree with that. The second thing I think is happening because of that is you see more people who are afraid of physical games going away, keeping them as collector's items. And so
that makes sense.
I think that you have two things actually working against them in that regard because, you know, I certainly, there are games that I don't play anymore, but I would certainly, and I could trade in and get towards something else, but I love like the Steelbook case, or I love like the thing, or I think to myself, well, you know, maybe if I don't play it again, at least it's a nice thing I can keep. I could, you know, as a collector's item type of deal. I think you have that working as well because I do think collector's items are, particularly in gaming right now, there is this rush to collect games. That's why things like limited run games exist, right? That are converting those physical to digital. So we'll see what happens. But anyway,
you mean digital?
Yeah, I'm sorry,
physical.
digital physical. We'll see what happens. Either way, I think it spells bad news for GameStop, and I'll be very curious to see what 2019 concludes for them and what happens with 2020 as well, if they're still around.
Yeah, it will be pretty interesting,
especially with new consoles. If new consoles come out, will that kind of keep them afloat for another year or two? Are they going to kind of float like that?
Yeah. The article I have in front of me, which is on Media Play News, says pre-owned sales declined 21.3%, and that reflects declines in hardware and software.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right about math-wise.
That's a lot.
All right.
So
that's all I've got on that subject. I mean,
yeah.
You know, we'll move on to the...
Sorry, GameStop.
Sorry. It was good while you lasted. Sort of.
I mean, it was great throughout the 90s and 2000s, wasn't that?
Yeah, I mean, I know people complain about their trade-in values, but...
well, I mean, they have to make a profit, too. It's still a capitalist system.
It is, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I was always the belief I don't trade my hardware in as much as possible. And I'm certainly of a belief that if I love that game enough... playing it, there's very few. It's not like I think we're too informed as consumers, or not too informed, but I think we're able to be too informed. It's almost too easy now to look at a game and go, that's not for me. I shouldn't spend $60 on it. Particularly if you have disposable income and you purchase your own games. I can't think of a game I've bought in the last, minus Fallout 76, in the last 5 years that I haven't gotten my use out of. You know, that I haven't bought and gone. Even if it got in my backlog, I accepted that fact, but knowing that I still am happy that I made that purchase. You know? Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyway, let's move on to See You Soon.
Alrighty. See you
Matt,
soon.
We went through hell last week with a load of games to read through. It is not nearly that epic this week. And so...
I was about to say, I'm scrolling down a little bit, and it's like, there's like 10, maybe.
These are the games that came out this week, or if you're listening to this next week, when it releases last week. And so...
there's not even 10, there's 9.
It's a quiet week, but there's some exciting ones. And so this first one kind of has my eye on it. Anger Force Reloaded, PS4 digital. Anger Force Reloaded is an action-packed, vertically scrolling shoot-'em-up shmup that pays homage to the 90s arcade classics. This high-octane experience is set in the 19th century human world, witnessing the outbreak of a robot rebellion. So it's steampunk and it's a shoot-'em-up. Sold.
Sweet. That's all you, buddy. All right, the next one. Is this from the guys that are? I think it might be. All right, Beat Blaster. PSVR digital out 4/5. Beat Blaster is a high-speed VR game about shooting and running where everything happens to the beat of the music. An original mix of styles with each level offers new challenges. Is that the Beat Saber guys,
not.
Probably?
It's a totally different company.
No, it's not?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I can't blame them. They're trying, you know. They saw what Beat Saber do, and they're like, you know what? When we do this with guns, we'll step it up a level. I watched a playthrough of some of this one. This one kind of looks like an interesting side scroller. Far Lone Sails is out on PS4 digital. Traverse a dried out seabed littered with the remains of a decaying civilization. Keep your vessel going, overcome obstacles, and withstand hazardous weather conditions. Where will this journey take you? Are you the last of your kind?
Interesting. All right, Modern Tales, Age of Invention, PS4 digital. Paris, 1900. During the World Expo, an unknown force kidnaps the brightest minds of the century. Step into the shoes of the daughter of one of the captured scientists. Follow the captor's trail and thwart his evil plans.
Very nice.
Ooh. I like the cover art on that. It's pretty cool. Looks like there's like some Tesla stuff going on in the background.
So this one's not on there. I just want to mention it because I just saw it in the PlayStation Store. April 2nd through the 30th, you can have free... Free... I'll have to click back. Let me check on this. I want to mention this because this kind of fits in with the blog, right, of games if you want to download stuff. Free access to Blackout. You can play for free Call of Duty Black Ops Blackout April 2nd through the 30th.
Oh, that's cool.
So I don't know when that popped up. I missed that one, but if you are in the mood for a Battle Royale...
For some blops?
Yeah, Battle Royale blops experience, they went free, which tells me that their player base is probably not where they want it to be.
Surprise,
all right,
surprise.
Monster Dynamite comes to PS4 digital. Boom, bang, crash. Cheeky monsters everywhere. Place your explosives strategically on stacks of crates, scaffolding, and logs where the little critters are sitting. Light the fuse and bring them all down.
So matter of fact about the exclamation points. Boom, bang, crash.
Yeah, I thought I'd read it with a little bit of, apathy in it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. Oh, I can't wait for this.
It's
one.
only $20.
Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. PS4 digital. A modern take on the 25-year franchise, showcasing stunning graphics and an original story. Pit current and classic Rangers and villains against one another like never before in 3 versus 3 tag battles. Test your skills online against friends and players from around the world for endless replayability.
Now, I do want to clarify with that one that they have, I've read some reviews, and it has a very good battle system. Like the people who made it worked on, I think, like Dragon Ball Z and a couple other ones. So the system is legit in that regard, the battle system. But from what I understand, everything else is kind of lacking. And so you will have fun fighting. The problem is that everything else about it is terrible.
But I mean, it's a fighting game.
So that's all you really need, right? Is good mechanics.
Yeah, right.
I think we're starting to get spoiled with fighting games. So, Sephiroth Stories, Shenandoah, a world protected by Sephiroth. However, with the power of the world tree beginning to wane, countless people have been transformed into monsters. With the world on the verge of destruction, an unlikely band sets out on an adventure.
Interesting.
That's one word for it.
Scorcery. Out PS4 digital out for 4. Scorcery is a fast-paced local multiplayer sports-like game set in a tournament of mystics. Gain control of the ball, shoot it at an opponent runes, and defend your own with smart maneuvering, tight controls, and powerful spells.
I would have not thought that Scorcery had in its description a sports-like game.
Right?
I would have never guessed that.
Well, it's sports-like. It doesn't mean
it's just the fact that sports and wizards are in the same 100%. Sentence. More or less.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Sword and Fairy 6. I wanted to say Fury. Sword and Fairy 6 is an RPG set in a stunning world of Chinese heroism and fantasy come to life. Embark on a journey to uncover ancient secrets and slumbering beasts in a world torn by warring factions and deception, while customizing your party and weapons to your heart's desire. And that is it for the drop. That is it. In and out, just like
last week, and a never-ending one, and now ours is over in like 5 minutes.
You know what? That's okay because
it's okay.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it. I can deal with it.
Yeah.
It'll give me more time to do other things. All right, ladies and gents. We're gonna come back next week with some Metaquip games. We're going to come back with some good news. We're going to come back with another topic. We're going to come back with maybe some more announcements as well. We'll see. But until then, thanks for stopping by and game on.
Game on. This is the outro music. Slow jam. Outro music. Yeah.
So moody.
And stop.